Begin the Gemara today, Daf Kuf Beis, the last two words on Daf Kuf Aleph Amud Beis. Spoke yesterday about the halacha of a ger, whether he can be part of the bezdin that's used for chalitza. So the Gemara brings another thing that Rava said regarding a ger. Amar Rava, ger don es chaveiroi dvar teira. A ger could judge his friend minat teira. And Rashi says this is even when it comes, not even, when it comes to dinei nefashis, matters that pertain to life and death. So a ger could join a bezdin if they're judging another ger. Shenama, because when the pasuk speaks about putting a person in a position of power, so a king or anything similar to that, what does the pasuk say? Saim tasam alecha melech hashiyivcha Hashem lekecha bai. You should appoint a king. Mikerev achecha, from amongst your brother, tasam alecha melech. So over here in this pasuk you see that a king has to be from amongst Klal Yisrael and not a ger. But the Gemara darshans alecha hudubina mikerev achecha. If he's going to be ruling or judging over another yid, so then he has to be another yid, not a ger. Av a ger, but if he's a ger, so then donas chaveira ger. So then he could be a judge to judge another ger. Now, Yisrael, if he has a Jewish mother, even if it's not a Jewish father, so then dana fila Yisrael. So then he's a complete yid. He's not considered to be a ger, and he can judge even another yid. But chalitza, now when it comes to chalitza, who could be part of the bezdin for chalitza? So this is interesting. Here has to be Atshehei Aviv v'imay mi-Yisrael. Both his father and his mother have to be a yid. Shenema v'nikra shmoi bi-Yisrael. Because of this extra expression of bi-Yisrael, that means he has to be a yid from both sides, his father and his mother. Amar Rabbe, Amar Rav Kahane, Amar Rav. So here, as I said, the next part of the sugi will be discussing the shoe that's used by the mitzvah of chalitza. If Eliyahu Navi will come along and say, Chaltzin b'minal, you can use a minal, a shoe for chalitza. Now when it says here minal, this means sort of the kind of shoe that we wear today, which is made up of soft leather. So if he'll tell you that you can use this kind of shoe for chalitza, shaym elai, you can listen to Eliyahu Navi. Ein chaltzin b'sandal. However, if Eliyahu Navi will come and tell you that you can't use a sandal, I guess it's similar to the sandal that we wear today. Rashi said in the Mishnah it has harder leather, it's made differently. So he tells you that you can't use a sandal for chalitza, then ein shaym elai, you won't listen to Eliyahu Navi. Why? Shekvar nagu ha'am b'sandal. Because the custom already is that this sandal is used for chalitza. But Rav Yosef Amar Rav Kahana Amar Rav, so he said a different version of what he said about this. If Eliyahu Navi would come and say that you can't use chalitza, this shoe with soft leather for chalitza, then Shaym Elai, we would listen to him. Ein chaltzin b'sandal, if he'll tell you that you can't use a sandal for chalitza, Ein Shaym Elai, we won't listen to him. Shekvar nagam b'sandal. Like we said before, the custom is that we use the sandal for chalitza. So my binayu, what's really the difference between these two versions we just quoted here? So the difference is not regarding the sandal. In both versions, they said the same thing, that if Eliyahu would say that you can't use a sandal, we don't listen to him. But the difference is regarding the shoe, the minal. Ikkebenayu minal lechatchila. The difference is, today, do we use a shoe lechatchila? Right, so the version that said that if Eliyahu Navi comes and says that that chaltzim b'minal, that you can use a shoe for the chalitza, so that means that today lechatchila we wouldn't use it. The other version that says ein chaltzim b'minal means that today lechatchila we do use a minal, a regular shoe with soft leather, and therefore it says if he comes and says you can't do it. Okay, so therefore basically it comes out of here. There's two versions whether today we use lechatchila a regular shoe for chalitza. The opinion that says that a regular shoe, the minal, the soft leather, could be used for chalitza. How could that be? But we learned in the Mishnah at the beginning of the Perek, chaltza b'minal, chalitzasa kesheira. If the chalitza was done with this minal, it'll be kosher. So what do you see from the language of the Mishnah? Once it's done, it's okay. But lechatchila, you don't use a regular shoe, you use a sandal. Answers the Gemara, this opinion will tell you, hu adin da'afilu lechatchila. Really, you can use a minal even lechatchila. Because in the Sefer it's coming to tell you even regarding b'di'evet, that if you use ampilya, which is some kind of shoe made of material, that over there the chalitza is pasul, da'afilu di'evet. So there it's telling you the halacha even regarding b'di'evet that it's pasul. So therefore tanan amiresha di'evet. It uses the same language in the reisha regarding the minal to say that b'di'evet it's kosher. But the truth is that even lechatchila it's kosher. Now the Gemara brings minal lechatchila tanaihi. This question here, whether this minol could be used lechatchila for chalitza, it's a machlekes tanoim. The Tanya we learned in a Braisa, Amar Rabbi Yosi said, Pa'am achas halachti l'netzivin, I once went to the city Netzivin, Matzasi zaken echad, I found an older individual. Amarti loy, I said to him, Klum atabaki b'Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, do you know Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira? So Amali, he said to me, Yehain, of course I know him. Bal shulchani yutadir, he always eats by my table. So then I asked him, Klum re'isa shechalatz bi Yevamos, did you ever see him making the chalitza for a Yevamos? Amali reisi shechalatz harbe pamim. I saw many times he did chalitza for a Yevamos. B'minal or b'sandal. So I asked him, did he use a minal or a sandal? This question we're discussing. Amali, so this older individual said to me, V'chi chaltzim b'minal? How are you asking me whether he used a regular shoe, the soft leather? Could you do chalitza with this? So Amarti Lo, Rabbi Yosi says, I said to this older individual, yeah, of course you could do chalitza with a minol, because imkain, if you're going to tell me you can't, so ma ra Rab Meir loymar, why does Rab Meir say, chaltza b'minol chalitzasa ksheira, that if the chalitza is done with this shoe, then it's kosher. So we see that b'diavad, it is kosher, so you can't tell me that it's impossible to do chalitza with a minol. And even furthermore, Rabbi Yaakov said in the name of Rab Meir, chaltzim b'minol lechatchila. You can use a shoe lechatchila for chalitza. So right here in the story of this Braisa, you see that there are two versions here brought in Rab Meir's opinion, whether this shoe is used lechatchila or only after the fact with the yevet it's acceptable. Now, the opinion that says that this minol lechatchila should not be used, my time, why not? If you're going to say the reason is mishum dahavya pansa me'al, because with this shoe, when you wear it, so it has the part of the leather of the shoe that goes on top of the person's foot. So that's one part of the shoe that covers his foot. And then what's on top of that leather that goes on the shoe? Va'arkese meyal. And then besides the leather that goes on top of the person's foot, then you have the laces that you tie it above the leather on the shoe, on the foot. And if so, meyal de meyal. It comes out that when this woman is coming to remove the shoe, she's not moving the shoe that's directly on the foot. She's untying the laces, and she's removing the laces, which is not on his foot. It's on top of the shoe, which is on top of his foot. And what's the issue? The Torah says, meyal. The full lashon of the pasuk is that she comes and she takes off v'choltza naloi meyal ragloi. She has to take the shoe off the foot. But over here, she's untying the laces, which is on top of the leather, which is on top of the foot. So that's why it's not good. Is that the reason? So if so, v'loi meyal de meyal. So not from on top of something else that's on top of the foot. But if that's the reason, then not only the chatchili should not use this, even b'diavad it shouldn't be good. So that can't be the reason. Untying the laces, which is on the leather on the foot, is not an issue. It's considered to be directly on the foot. So rather, what is the issue? Gzeire mishum minol merufat. This kind of a leather shoe, because the leather gets worn out and it gets on top of the foot, it's not going to be fully on the foot, b'chlal. And even after it's not fully on the foot, because this shoe is made up of soft leather, you can still wear it. Even after it's torn to some degree, it's still worn. So therefore, the gzeira is using a shoe that's torn and it's not fully on the foot, is not on his foot completely. And if she removes it, she's not removing a shoe that's completely on his foot. So the gzeira is that this kind of soft leather, it can get torn and people are still going to use it for the chalitza. Yinami, or similar, mishum chatzi minol, because the shoe might become torn and it's only going to be a half a shoe and it's still wearable and you're going to use it for the chalitza. So that's why they said to use dafka a sandal, the sandal that's made up of this harder leather and the way it's designed, even when once it gets torn, you can't wear it anymore, b'chlal. So there's no gzeira that you might wear this torn shoe. Amar Rav said, Yilav the chamise lechavivi, if not for this that I saw chavivi, the Rabchia, he called him chavivi, the cholatz besandal, the islay shnotzen, that he did chalitza with a sandal that has laces. Ano lehavi chalitzna, ele besandal detaya. If it was up to me, I wouldn't do chalitza only with a sandal that's used by these Arab merchants, the mahadik tfei, which it's tight on the foot without these laces that are tying them. And v'hai didon, and the sandals that we wear, that we have, in times of the Gemara, afagav the ispe chumrese, it has sort of a buckle, a sort of a, what do you have? A knot that buckles it, the knot that makes it tight on the foot. But besides that, Katrinan Bey Misne, you tie additional laces to tie it on the foot, straps. In order that when she removes it from the foot, it should be a good chalitza. The point of here is, the way chalitza has to be done is she has to remove it from the foot. If when she's removing it from the foot, it slips off by itself because it wasn't tied on the foot, she didn't remove it. It slipped off. She has to remove it from the foot. So you have to make sure that it's tight on the foot, that she's the one removing it. A siman for the continuation of the Gemara here, Hataras, Yevamos, Sandal. 3 halachas that Rav Yudah Marav says. So Amar Rav Yudah Marav, Hataras, Yevamos, L'shuk. In order for this Yevamos to be mutter to get married to anybody through chalitza, b'shmitas roiv ha'akiv. If she removes most of the heel, most of the shoe from the heel of the person. So even if it's not, she removed most of it, that is the chalitza. Meisvei, so the Gemara asks from what it says in the Braise, Hutru ritzuas minol v'sandal. If the laces, the straps of this shoe or the sandal were opened on their own, she didn't open it up. Or she slipped out, she took it off from most of the foot. It already slipped off, that is. Before she took it off. The shoe slipped off from most of his foot. The chalitza is apostle, she did not take it off. The laces untied itself. Or it slipped off on their own from his foot. So it's possible. So what do we understand from this braise? The reason why this chalitza is possible is because he slipped off most of the shoe from his foot. But if she slipped it off from most of his foot, then chalitza is ksheira. So then the chalitza is kasha. She took it off. Now, what does it say here in the braise? Roiv haregel, that she has to take it off from most of his foot. Then the chalitza is good, but roiv ha'okev. But if she removed it from most of the heel of his foot, so then loy, seems like then it's not good. So the Gemara says no, loy. That's not how you learn this brayso. Hainu roiv regel, hainu roiv ha'okev. Whether we're talking about most of the foot that the shoe is in, that the foot is in the shoe, or most of the heel, it's the same thing. V'mai korele roiv haregel. Why does the brayso use the term of roiv haregel, most of the foot, even though it really meant to say most of the heel? The kula chayla de kare alea dochis, because the weight of a person's foot is all in the heel. On the heel of the foot, that's where most of the weight of the person is, so therefore that's considered to be most of the foot. What we just said here is a proof for what Rabbi Yanai said. Rabbi Yanai said, Ben shehitterhu v'shamtehi. If the man untied the laces or the straps of the shoe and she pulled it off, or Ben shehetirahi, she untied the laces or straps v'shamatu, and then he slipped off the shoe. Chalitza sapsula. Either way, the chalitza will be possible. Ad shetatirhi, she has to untie the straps. V'tashmiti, and she also has to pull off the shoe from most of the heel of his foot. By Rabbi Yanai asked a question regarding the chalitza. Kar asahu, if she tore it off his shoe, she didn't untie the laces, and she did not slip it off his shoe in the normal way, she just tore the shoe. She tore the shoe and it fell off. Or sarafasu, she burnt the shoe, and the shoe is burnt, so it's off his foot. Mahu, what's going to be the halacha here? She never really took it off his foot. She just tore it and it fell off, or burnt it and it came off. Do I say gilui karabinon? The main thing that the Torah wants her to do is to uncover his foot or his heel, and vayike, and that's accomplished. Its foot is uncovered. Oidilme chalitza beinon. The Torah actually wants her to do the action of removing the shoe from his foot. If you just tear it and it falls off, she didn't actually do the action of removing it from the foot. You don't have that. Take it. This is unresolved. Rab Nechemi asked from Rabbe, Shnei min olim ze al gabi ze. Person's wearing two shoes, one on the other. Mahu. What's going to be the halacha here? So what case are we speaking about? So the Gemara explains, Hey chidami, what's the question here? Ileime, if the case is the shalfase li iloi, is that she pulled off a little bit the top layer, the top shoe, the koi tatoi me'al, and so she pulled off the top shoe, and the second layer that's on his foot he's still wearing it. So what's the question? For sure, it shouldn't be a good chalitza. Me'al amar achmana. The Torah says you have to remove the shoe from her foot. V'lo meyal de meyal. And if you remove the second layer of the shoe and the first layer which is on the foot is not removed, so then for sure it's not a good chalitza. So what's the question? So the Gemara, no. The question is, the case here is, the kar'asei li'iloi. She tore open the top layer of the shoe. She didn't remove it from his foot, she just tore it open, and then v'sholfasei li'tatoi. And she was able to pull out the other layer, the inner layer of the shoe, because she tore open the outer layer shoe, so she was able to pull out the inner layer of the shoe, but his foot still remains covered with the outer layer. But then the outer layer of shoe is still really on his foot. So what's going to be the halacha? So over here the question is the reverse of what we had before. Chalitza b'yinon, do I say the point is that she's doing the action of removing a shoe from his foot? V'ha'ikeh, she removed the inner layer shoe directly from the foot. The point is that after you remove the shoe, the foot should be exposed. And the shoe is not exposed, even though she removes the inner layer shoe, but the outer layer shoe is still there, and it's still covering his foot. Gemara now says, is there such a case even that a person is wearing two layers of shoes? Who wears two shoes? Is it even possible? Why are we even asking such a question? So the Gemara says, yes, it's possible. The Shiur Rabbanal Rav Yehuda the Nafik b'chamisha zuzi muki l'shuke, that he saw that Rav Yehuda was wearing 5 different layers of muki, some kind of shoe that's made of some material, and he wore 5 different layers of shoes when he went out into the marketplace. So it's possible a person wears different layers of shoes. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Yevamos gdila beina achin. A Yevama, so she became a Yevama when she was young, and she grew up amongst the brothers. So the Gemara says, Muteres li nasei le'echad min ha'achin. She's allowed, when she gets older, if she wants Yibum done, she's allowed to get married to any of the brothers. And ve'ein chayshishin shema cholza sandal le'echad man. We're not going to be concerned that since she spent so much time amongst them, maybe at a certain point she removed the sandal of one of their feet, and if so, once chalitza is done, you can't do yibum anymore. That's the halacha we learned a few times earlier in the Masechta here. After chalitza, there is no yibum, so maybe we should be concerned that unknowingly she went and did chalitza for one of these brothers, but we're not concerned for that. So the Gemara says, "Taime deloi chazinon." The reason why we're not concerned is because we didn't ever see her removing the shoe from any of these brothers. But if we did see that she once removed a shoe from any of these brothers, then we'll be concerned that maybe that would be considered chalitza and she can't get married to them anymore. But why would we be concerned? Vatani, we learned in the Braisa. If he had kavana that the shoe is being removed for the purpose of chalitza, and she didn't have kavana for this. Or ben sheniskavna he. She had kavana, she was thinking that this is being done for the purpose of chalitza. V'loy niskavnu, and he did not have kavana. Chalitza sapsula. The chalitza is pasul, achi iskavnu shneim ke'echad. They both have to have kavana that it's being done for the purpose of chalitza. You can't just take it off stamazai. It has to be done with the proper kavana, and both he has to have the kavana, and she has to have the kavana. If so, the question is, why would we be concerned that maybe she removed the shoe from one of the brothers, but if they weren't doing it for the purpose of chalitza, it doesn't matter? Answers the Gemara, Hachika Amar, so therefore rather what the Brais, or the statement before that Rav Yehuda Marav said is as follows. Afal gav de chazinon, even if we clearly saw that she removed the shoe of one of these brothers, ein chayshishin, we're not going to be concerned, shema kivnu, that maybe because we see that physically she removed the shoe from him, maybe they both did have kavana, that it should be done for the purpose of chalitza. We're not concerned about that, and she could later go on and marry one of these brothers. But V'kedamri, there's another version explaining what Rav Yehuda Marav said, Taime doloi chazinon. The reason that we're not concerned is because we didn't see that she removed any of the shoes of the brothers. Ha chazinon, but if we did see, chayshishin, then we would be concerned. Possibly it was done with the kavana for chalitza. Katani boy kavana. No, actually, sorry, that's not the pshat. When it says here at chayshishin, we're concerned, meaning even if there was no kavana, she still will not be able to marry any of the brothers now, as the Gemara here explains. Katani boy kavana. This that it says that for the mitzvah of chalitza, you must have kavana that the mitzvah takes effect. Hani mili lishtaruye la'alma. That's only for the fact that this mitzvah of chalitza makes her permitted to get married to anybody else. For that, it's necessary to have kavana. Avala achin, mifsala. But even without kavana, even a chalitza which is pasul and does not allow her to get married to anyone else, but it will also at the same time make it pasul for her to get married to one of the brothers. After chalitza, you can't get married to one of the brothers. That is even in a case when the chalitza was a pasul chalitza. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, sandal hatofro bepishton. The sandal which it's sewn together with flax material. Ein chaltzim, but you can't do chalitza with it. Why? Shenem, the pasuk says, "Va'ancha va'anolcha tachash," that I will put on shoes on you made from tachash. What's tachash? Tachash is a kind of animal that we know existed in the time of the Mishkan, so it means it has to be from a hide of an animal, not with some flax material. But if so, if you're proving it from that pasuk, so maybe the shoe should be dafka from the hide of this tachash and not from any other animal. Says the Gemara, no, nal riba. In the parsha of Yevamos, it says twice the word nal, so it comes to add even a shoe made from another hide of a different animal, not only the tachash. The Gemara, nal riba. If it says twice nal, so we say any kind of hide of an animal. Afilo kol milinami. So maybe that means any kind of shoe. Maybe Nal is telling you that it could be any shoe, not only from the hide of an animal. Says the Gemara, but imkain tachash maya hanile. So that pasuk where it says va'anchol tachash, what would we be learning from there? So we have to learn something from that pasuk. So it's telling you that it has to be similar to a tachash, which means the shoes that are made from leather from the hide of an animal. Rabbi Elazar asked Rav a question. Who shall err if the shoe itself is from the hide from leather? V'tarisaisav shall seir, and the laces are made from hairs of an animal. Mahu, what's going to be the halacha? What's the hairs is okay or not okay? Amalei, so he answered him, yeah, why shouldn't it be fine? Mi loy karinen be va'anchal tachash. Can't you apply the pasuk of va'anchal tachash? Just like the leather itself comes from the hide of an animal, so the hairs also comes from the animal. So therefore it's okay. So the Gemara asks, Sihachi kula shel ser nami? Does that mean if you make a shoe that's not made from leather, but it's made from the hairs of an animal? So is that also going to be fine? So he says, no, that's not even called a shoe. Hahu karka mikri. That's called karka. Maybe this is the source of the term Crocs that we use today. I'm just kidding. Okay, so karka means it's some kind of a slipper or some kind of a softer shoe that's made from the hairs of an animal. It's not made from leather, so it's not called a shoe b'chlal. Amal Rav Kahana l'Shmuel. Rav Kahana said to Shmuel, Mimai dahai v'cholza nalei. So now we're done with the shoe. We know what the shoe is supposed to mean. And here we're getting back to discussing what does she have to do with this shoe. So now how do you know that when it says v'cholza nalim al ragloi mishlafu, that the term cholza means that she removes it from his foot? How do you know that that's what the word cholza means? Because there's another pasuk that says v'cholza v'sa'avanim ashebehan nega. When you have a house that has a nega, you have to remove the bricks of the house, so it uses the same term, v'chilzu. Chilzu means to remove the bricks. But ve'eme ziruzihu, maybe the word v'cholza means to strengthen. Why? Where do I see it means to strengthen? That the people should be strong and arm themselves and go out into war. So I see hecholzu, same term, also means to be strong and to arm yourself. So maybe over here it means not to remove the shoe, but maybe it means adarabah, that she has to put on the shoe and tighten the shoe strong on his foot. Says the Gemara, Hasam Nami, in that pasuk hecholzu, it also means to remove. Shlufim mi beisa, you should remove yourself from your house, lekrova, and go out into battle. So hecholzu means to remove. But for Haksiv, there's another pasuk where it says, Yachlatz ani ba'anyai, that the Eibishter removes a poor person from his poverty. So what do you see over here? That Yachlatz means, right now the Gemara understands that Yachlatz means that the Eibishter helps. Yachlatz ani, the Eibishter strengthens. The Eibishter strengthens a poor individual when he's poor. So you see that Yachlatz means to strengthen, not to remove. So the Gemara answers, B'schar anyai, as a reward for this that he was poor, Yachlatz midina shel Gehenim. Hashem removes him from the punishment of Gehenim. So the word Yachlatz does mean to remove. El Adichsiv, there's another pasuk. Chayna malach Hashem saviv li reyav. Hashem is surrounds those that fear him. Vayechaltzem. Vayechaltzem means simply that he strengthens them. So we see that it means to strengthen, not to remove. Again, the Gemara answers, B'schar yireyav, as a reward for this that they fear Hashem, Yechaltzem midina shel Gehenim. He removes them from Gehenim. El Hadichsiv, there's another pasuk where it says, Va'atzmaisecha yachlitz, and your bones Hashem will strengthen. So here, yachlitz means to strengthen. V'amar Rabbi Elazar, the There's different brachas that it says during the pasuk. This is the best of the brachas. When a person has strong bones, his body is strong. V'amarave zeruzi garmi. So that means to strengthen your bones. So you see that the word chalitza means to strengthen and not to remove. So the Gemara answers, you're right, mashma'achi or mashma'achi. The term chalitza sometimes means to strengthen, sometimes it means to remove. The hacha over here, why do we say it means to remove? Because isal kedaitach zeruzihu, if over here, the mitzvah of chalitza would be to strengthen, meaning you should put the shoe back onto his foot. In Kain, lichtov rachmana, if so, the language of the pasuk should be, v'cholza naloi biragloi, that she should strengthen the shoe on his foot, on his foot. What does it say in the pasuk? It says, "V'cholza nale me'al ragloi." She removes it from the foot. With a mem means you take it off from the foot. So the Gemara says, "Ikas of rachmana biragloi." No, that's not a question. The Torah can't say biragloi that she has to strengthen the shoe and put it on his foot, because if it would say that, havamina biragloi in that only on the foot, if she puts on the shoe, does she do the mitzvah? But b'shoikai, if God forbid a person's foot is amputated and she puts the shoe onto his thigh, onto his knee, so then over there the mitzvah is not fulfilled. Kasav rachmana me'al ragloi. Therefore the Torah is saying me'al ragloi, that even if the foot is chas v'shalom removed, that if she puts the shoe onto a higher part of on the leg, so it's also going to be good. That even on the shaik, even on the thigh, the mitzvah is fulfilled. But the Gemara still says, Imkei and lichtav rachmana be me'al ragloi. Even if it wants to say in the pasuk me'al ragloi, to let you know that it doesn't have to be literally on the foot, but even higher up, but still the letter beis has to be there, bit, that you're putting it onto the foot. Mai me'al ragloi. Why does it say v'cholza nale me'al ragloi without that beis there? Shmamina mishlafu. So that term me'al means you're taking it off from the foot. So that's how we know that over here the term chalitza means to remove it from the foot. There was an apikaitis, a mind, etc. Rabbi Gamliel, he was trying to bother him. So he said, Amma the chalitzle mare mine. You're a nation that your master, the Eibishter, removed you from him. The pasuk says, B'tzainam u'b'bukaram yelechu levakeshes Hashem. They go amongst the cattle and the sheep to look for the Eibishter, v'lo yimtzu, and they don't find him. Chalatz meihem. He removed himself from them. He did, the meaning to say that the Eibishter did chalitza for the Yidden. So Amalei, Rabbi Gamliel answers him, Shaita, you're a fool. Miksiv chalatz lohem. Does it say in the pasuk chalatz lohem that the Eibishter does chalitza for the Yidden? Meaning that the mashal over here is that the Eibishter is the Yavam and the Yidden are the Yevama, and the Eibishter is the one that did chalitza for the Yidden, that he removes himself for the Yidden. Chalatz meihem ksiv. It says in the pasuk chalatz meihem, referring to the Yidden, that the Yidden are the ones that remove themselves from the Eibishter. And if so, v'ilu Yevama the cholza lo achen midi mashashe espei. By chalitza, if you do it in the reverse way of the way it's supposed to be done, so usually how's chalitza done? She removes the shoe from the Yavam's foot. Over here, because it says chalatz lahem, what it's saying is that the chalitza is happening in the reverse way, that kaviyachol, the chalitza is coming off from the Yidden's foot, which is there the Yevamos. So if you do the chalitza in the reverse way, does it have any effect? It doesn't have any effect at all. So the point over here is the Eibishter never removes himself of Yidden. It's the Yidden that are doing the chalitza, they are removing themselves from the Eibishter. And it has no effect. The Eibishter remains connected to us, even if we try to remove ourselves from the Eibishter. Going back to the Mishnah, it said, Ban pilya chalitzas psula. You're using some kind of material shoe, so that will be pasul. So lememre, shall we say, Dan pilya lav minalo, that this anpilya is not a shoe. But utnan, or tanya, we learned in the Braise, nami, ein, hatayrem, nichnas, a person. So we see in another place where it also says that this ampilya is not a shoe, because it says regarding the tairim, this is by the person that comes in after they donate a machzas hashekel, and then you have to take out from the machzas hashekel to use for the karbanis. So the one that goes in to take out from the machzas hashekel, so he may not enter into the Beis Hamikdash loy bepargut chofus, not with pants that have cuffs at the bottom, so no one should suspect him that he's taking any money and placing it into those cuffs. V'loy ban pilya, and not with these material shoes, so no one should suspect him that he's placing the money into these material shoes. Ve'en tzarech loyma b'minov v'sandal. Now, needless to say, he shouldn't walk in with any kinds of shoes or sandals into the Beis Hamikdash. Lefi she'enich nasim b'minov v'sandal azara. You don't enter into the azara with a minol or with shoes or sandals. So over here in this brayso, you see that it says anpilya separately. Anpilya is not a kind of shoe. That's what we see here, and that's what we see in our Mishnah, that Ampilya can't be used for Chalitza. But V'raminu, I'll ask you a question on this, and here's the halacha regarding Yom Kippur, where you're not allowed to wear shoes. Echad minol, v'sandal, you can't wear a shoe, you can't wear a sandal, v'anpilya, and this Ampilya either. Lo yitayil ben, you shouldn't walk around with them on Yom Kippur, lo mibayis lebayis, not from one house to another, and not even v'lo mimita lemita, not even from inside, indoors, from one bed to another. So what do we see over here? That this Ampilya is considered to be a shoe, and you're not supposed to wear it on Yom Kippur. So is it a shoe or is it not a shoe? Amar Abaye, the Ispe Kisisi, on Yom Kippur the issue is that this Ampilya is a kind of shoe that has some cushioning inside of it, and therefore it's pleasure to wear it, and Yom Kippur you're not supposed to have pleasure by wearing this. That's the answer. So Rava doesn't accept this. Amalei Rava, Mishum Tainug, Beloy Minol, just because it's comfortable, even though it's not a shoe, B'Yom Kippurim, Mi Asiri, on Yom Kippur is it Asar? Rabbi Baravone wrapped a sudar, a kind of handkerchief, on his foot, and and he walked out this way. So on Yom Kippur, you're not supposed to wear leather shoes. But if you're wearing something else which could be quite comfortable, but it's not leather shoes, it's allowed, right? So therefore, how could you say that the issue is that it's comfortable? Therefore Rava gives a different answer. There's no contradiction regarding this Ampilya. There are two kinds of Ampilyas. Kan Bampilya Shel There's this Ampilya that's made up of leather, does have a leather layer in it. So even though it's not a regular shoe made of leather, it's made of material, but it does have some leather layer in it. And Kam Bampilya Shel Beged. And then there's this Ampilya, this shoe that's made just of material with no leather layer in it at all. Hachanami Mistavre, it's logical to say what we just said, that there are two kinds of Ampilyas. Because if you're not going to say so, then Kasha Yom Kippurim, Ayayim Kippurim. So there's a contradiction regarding Yom Kippur itself, whether you're allowed to wear this Ampilya or not. So before we said regarding this Ampilya that you should not wear it on Yom Kippur. And what does it say in another brayse? The Tanya in another brayse it says, Lo yitayil adam, a person on Yom Kippur should not walk around bekur kedisen betoich beisai. With kur kedisen. How do they translate it over there?
Undershoes.
Again?
Undershoes.
Undershoes. Okay, it's interesting. If you look into Rashi here, Rashi brings Balashon Ashkenaz, which is Yiddish, undershuch. See it? Okay. So you shouldn't walk around with these kur kedisen on Yom Kippur betoich beisai, even indoors. Aval metayalu ban pilin betoich beisai. You can wear these anpilin, these material shoes in your house. So what do you see here? Here it says you could use anpilin, and before it says you can't. So it must be like we said before. Shema mina, this proves kan b'anpilya shel there's this kind of anpilya that has also a leather layer on it, and that's not allowed. Kan b'anpilya shel beged. And then there's the anpilya that's made fully of material without any leather in it. Shema mina. So this is why today when you have the Yom Kippur shoes, even if most of it is made of other materials, but it has also a leather part in it, you don't wear it on Yom Kippur. If it's totally only from material, then it's allowed to be worn on Yom Kippur.